Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Grace of a Military Child in Life podcast. Military families are not like your traditional family. They are strong, brave, resilient, and some of the most incredible people I know. My name is Gracie, a U.S. Army brat, and I am your host. I am honored to be able to give military family members like myself a place for them to share their stories and experiences in the military life. Stay tuned for this week's guest. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Grace of a Military Child in Life. Today, I'm here with Michelle, who is an Army spouse and also host of her own podcast and her own social media platform. So, Michelle, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thanks. I'm super good. Always love talking to other military spouses.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun. I love our community.
Yeah. So kind of give us a backstory of what it's like in your world being a military spouse and, what that experience has been like for you.
What military spouse life has been like. So my husband was actually in like an ROTC class. We met at college and he was in an ROTC class when we met, just thinking about enlisting. But he had actually decided not to. So when we got married, it was like he had thought about it, but it was a no. And then shortly after we got married, like just a month or two later, for some reason, both of us were really thinking about it. And we brought it up to each other and we're like, hey, I don't know why I'm thinking about this. And we don't really believe in coincidences. So we prayed about it. And then that was like a Saturday. And then that Monday, the recruiters called him because, like once they have your number, they have your number forever, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of a whirlwind, but he basically has been in the military our whole marriage because we got married in April. He enlisted in July, went to basic in October. Our first baby was born in April, just a few weeks after he got back from basic. And then it's just been like this whirlwind. We kind of had a different journey because he enlisted and then he did join the ROTC program and commissioned years later, but he also decided to become a chaplain in that whole experience. So we had years in the reserve, and then now we've been active for 6 or 7 years. I've honestly lost track of
it goes by so fast.
Yeah, it's been even our time in the reserves, he was gone a lot, especially being reserves and ROTC program and schooling to become a chaplain. He just was gone a lot. And then active duty, it's been the same. And we've moved, I think, we just counted the other day. I think it's 7 moves in 12 years. And all the while having kids. We've got 4 girls with us. We lost our son 3 years ago, and then I'm pregnant with little squish number 6. So it's been, I don't know if there's a word to describe it. It's been a roller coaster that I wouldn't want to do with anybody else but my husband. And we've learned so much along the way. A lot of it has been painful. A lot of it has been so sweet and amazing because we've met some of the best people along the way, and every emotion in between.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, you get those highs, you get the lows. And I think just hearing, your story, like, in a nutshell, just about, there's so many different aspects of it, the leaving, the, coming home, leaving again, active, reserve, ROTC, everything. And then adding kids, the loss of your son, everything on top of it makes it just, such a whirlwind of a life that, like you said, you find your person and you don't want to experience it with anyone else besides your person.
Yeah. 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 He's pretty awesome. I like him.
No, I love that. And like, it's so fun because you go through this life and you don't know what to expect from it because everyone's experiences are so different that you just kind of have to go in with an open mind of, okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to have to figure it out each and every step along the way.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I wish a lot of, really just anybody getting married, but especially people in the military of like, I think people looking outside or as they're approaching this life, or even as I talk with like brand new military spouses, they're like so intimidated by this life. And it's just like how do you do this? Or I can't even imagine. And I could never do a deployment. I could never do, the back and forth that many times. I could never move 3 times in 2 years or whatever. And it's like, none of it's easy, but I think people are afraid of what it will do to them, and especially what it will do to their family and their marriage. And I think that fear, is very valid. I want to make it very clear. It's very valid, and I understand it, and I have felt it. I've learned that it's completely unnecessary. If you are approaching it with the mindset of no matter what, we are going to do this together.
Yeah.
And it is going to be us versus the problem, versus instead of like, he's doing, my service member is doing this to us, or because my service member joined the military, then this is happening. It's like, no. From the get-go, we decided this is a joint decision. We are doing this together. And every decision since then, both, having babies, career-wise, you only have so much decision choice over them, where you're going, like the preferences or whatever, those have all been decisions that we have made together as a couple. And then through it, because it's not like, even though we chose to come to Hawaii, which is fun, there's still hard parts about being in Hawaii. Those hard things we're doing together, even though, one of the hardest things was shortly after we lost our son, the whole thing happened while he was gone on a mission. And so he came home. Luckily, he had a command that got him home super, super fast. But then his command also gave him the choice to, you can stay home. We completely understand it. Or you can come back. And we, obviously they would love to have somebody doing their job, right?
Right.
We decided together it was best for him at that time through his process to go. That was best for his grieving. That was not easy to do though, but we decided to do it. We decided to do it together. And I think it makes all the difference I've seen. And not that I can judge other people's relationships, but when you've been in this long, you've seen marriages not succeed. And those that we've been close to, again, not in a judgmental way, sorry, but we've just tried to observe in a way of like, that's not what we want. So what can we learn from it? And what we've learned from it is like, it's a bitterness thing. It's a not doing it together thing. And when literally sometimes through the hard, you're every day looking at each other like, okay, can we do this together though? Like, can you let me into your life? Can I let you into my life? And can we just do this together? It makes a world of difference.
Yeah, I think military life, as a whole, family, relationships, kids, everything. I think the basis of it is really communication. Because if you can't like understand, because there's always the idea of, oh, like you mentioned earlier, oh, my service member is doing this to me. They're doing this to me, when it's like, no, they didn't necessarily choose to move you halfway around the world. Like, That was the military saying, okay, well, this is where we need you, right? Or, that's a decision you kind of make together to even put that on your preferences. And so I think it's like you have to look at it from the outside and say, okay, no, this is how we need to do this. And every family is different. Some families, you want to be more involved as a spouse, and some it's like, okay, I'm here for the ride, And so you have to find the balance that's right for your family. And then, as kids grow older, involving in the kids and, they're confused. Like, I remember growing up and being so confused and lost. And I don't know why my friends are leaving. I don't know why I'm leaving, all of those emotions. So then it's like involving the kids and saying, okay, well, this is what's happening. And, I'll never forget my parents, they kind of narrowed down our moving options when my dad retired, Texas or Florida. And they were like, okay, well, they asked my sister and I both, where would you prefer to live, Texas or Florida, and why? And, taking that into account. And, so many different other perspectives on that too. But it all starts with the foundation of communication.
Yeah. Yeah. How can you figure out a way to talk with each other in a constructive way? How can you figure out how to talk about the hard things, not avoiding the hard things, and remembering that like having difference of opinion is not bad. You don't want like contention and fighting, but it's okay to like argue a little bit and have differences of opinion. And, and just figure out a way to, really like just let your spouse in, which requires vulnerability, which seems so silly because it's like, of course, I love my spouse. I will let them in. But then, how many times, I don't know about you, but like, I didn't grow up in a family or with a personality where like we talked about our feelings. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And like, so to really, this part of marriage is like letting somebody into your soul really on the hard times and not just getting defensive and not getting petty, even though sometimes you want to be, like, like it's just communicating in a healthy way and letting them in and just doing it together.
Yeah. And like you said, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating at times. And sometimes you're just like, why is this happening? Yeah. Why are we going through this? When can this end?
I don't want
emotions. Right. Yeah. Exactly. You get like, literally, you find more emotions in the military life than you ever thought you had. Yeah. And it's just the cycle of it. And, it gets stressful packing up and moving and, unpacking down to pack right again. And you just don't know what this life expects or what to expect from this life. And you just have to kind of, like I said, go through it with an open mind and be willing to go through the hard things, because that's the only way you're going to get past it, is to go through it, experience it, learn from it. And I think, we can look back at so many military families in the past and we can see, like, yes, we've had things like technology advances and things like that that have made it so much easier on military families now. But, we can see where, okay, well, that didn't work for them. Let's try and see if something else is going to work better, for us in the future or for us right now. And, adapt and overcome as you go through this life.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So I want to ask you about your platform that you have, the Waiting Warriors, and how you kind of came up with that, and then how you interact with the military community.
It's really fun. I really like it. So it started out when we were in the reserves. We were not in a military community. Even though we were only a few minutes from where he met, like for drill on the weekends, and where the base was, it still just was like, there was no resources, there was no community, there was no SFRG except for like a yearly Christmas thing where we got to bring the kids and Santa was there, like there just was nothing. And then the community around us just didn't understand. But then also it's like my husband was gone just all the time and I'm raising these kids and we knew we were going to go active duty. So I knew that would just be even, I mean, not next level, but just different and some different challenges. And I was just wondering, like, how the heck do people do this? Like,
Yeah.
I was not raised to be a weak woman, and I was raised to be independent and strong and to figure things out. And I really was trying, and still it just felt really hard. And it was frustrating that I knew that there had to be a way because otherwise families would never do this, right? I just didn't have all the answers. And so it started out with a podcast and then turned into just being on all the different platforms and sharing things, just really as a way to like, how can I reach out to people that I've seen online, people that were in our units, people whom my other military wife friends knew, and just asking them the honest question of like, how do you do, holidays by yourself? How do you prep for a deployment? How do you handle during the deployment when they're in danger? How do you help your kids when they've moved, however many times? How do you do this and what's worked for you, what hasn't, and just trying to have honest conversations and then continuing that as the platform has grown online of just like, hey, let's keep on having honest conversations. Let's be honest about what military life is like, but in a way that actually helps us. Like, I'm a very big fan of like, we need to acknowledge the hard, but we also don't want to just brood on it and complain all the time. And we need to find a way to like, okay, this is hard. So what are we going to do about it? Not just this is hard and this is stupid and I hate the Army. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think there's a difference there. So that's what I try to do with the Waiting Warriors is share resources I've learned along the way. I mean, we kind of got to cheat because my husband went to school to be a chaplain and got a master's degree and took classes on like how to help people with transitions and moving and how to help them with difficult family situations all while we were like having those things. So it's like we were the guinea pigs and we had just this, cheating resource. And then we got active duty and I realized, oh gosh, like why aren't people talking about these things more? Yeah. Why does it have to be, you have to get lucky to get a meeting with the chaplain or to be able to fit in with behavioral health or whatever, and I think with as big as the military is, they have done what they could. And it just felt like I'm not going to wait for the military to solve the problems for the spouses and the families. So I'm going to find the nonprofits and the other military spouses that I know who are creating resources. I've created some myself, working with other spouses and, just trying to do what we can to make, an online space because we can't all be together, even though that would be really fun.
It would be so much fun.
It would be a party if we could just all be stationed in one place, but I doubt that is secure and smart military.
It'd get pretty boring probably too after some time.
Yeah, but just create an online space where people can come with questions, where people can come and feel validated, but also encouraged. And that's my whole goal. And we'll laugh, today we're sharing share your feedback because we know it's October. So everybody's looking at the marketplace and where they're going to move and everybody has questions. So if you've been to JBLM, go share, and then people can get all the information they need. But it's a lot of fun for me to give back when people have given so much to me, but also just like, I don't know, this life can be lonely, and online is not the only place that you need friends and community, but I think it's a decent start for those of us who, the moves can be really hard, or even just you've been there for 2 years, but now your spouse is gone and you're just feeling low and you just need a little encouragement.
Yeah. And jumping into this lifestyle, you don't know what to expect. There are tons and tons of resources out there. And, the military puts them out there, but the bulk of them come from these other spouses, kids, families who go through it and live through it on a day-to-day basis and know exactly, their tips and tricks of how to navigate this. And so it's like, you have to rely on that to get you through, those hard times, and you have to do the research and find it. And that's literally my favorite part of the military life, is just the community of people that we have surrounding us, because it's just that, you always have a support system no matter where you go. And that's, joining the military myself right now, it's a scary process. Like, it's hard. It's not without any challenges, but it's so much fun knowing that no matter where I go, I know there's someone there that I've met through this community that's going to like scoop me up and be like, okay, we're going to go through this together, because, your family can't always move with you. My parents and sister cannot move with me. They've already moved throughout their life. They're done. So it's like, okay, there's somebody there who can say, okay, we're going to, go through this. And I already have people there like, okay, come to Hawaii, come to San Antonio, come here and, we'll hang out again. But it's like, that community, that those support systems and resources are there. And like I said, there's a bulk of them, but there's never too many, because there's always going to be something new coming out, always going to be another, issue that somebody hasn't tackled yet, and they need help getting through it. And, you learn something that's going to help someone else. And that's just, I can't speak highly enough of the military community.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, even if you don't know people going into a place, I would bet $1 million that your neighbor wants a friend just as much as you. And that, the mom at the park wants a friend and somebody to talk to and all that kind of stuff. So it's just, I love how, if you're willing to put yourself out there a little bit, which can be scary, how fast friends can be made in the community, and how 99% of the time, how willing people are to take you under their wing or invite you in. And I know it doesn't happen all the time, so I do say the 99%, but it is more often than not. And there are people who just want our community to be better and are putting so much time and effort into that. And so while you can find the negative in the community or online, there's so much light and there's so much positive if you want to find it.
Yeah. And you say friends and, instant friends and like instant lifelong friends too.
Yeah.
And that's the best, like most insane part too, because, you have your childhood friends, that, you've grown up with, you've lived with your entire life. And then, you get put into this military family. And if they're not from a military family, they don't necessarily have that same understanding of what you're going through. And so I always say that it's great to have your civilian friends, but you need those military friends, because they're the ones that you can instantly connect with. You can say what's going on, even though it might sound like the most ridiculous, like Murphy's Law experience of your life. You can say, like, this is happening. And more likely than not, they're going to have gone through the same exact experience or something very similar, or know someone who went through it and can be like, okay, well, here you go. Let's, get this all, like, let's help you get through this. And that's, I love the civilian community too, but that military community just has that little bit of, pizzazz or something in it that is just so special that it's unable to be replicated.
Yeah. And I think it's so important, like, especially when you go through the really hard things that military life can bring, to know and have that feeling of you're not alone.
Yeah.
And while, like, I am super, super lucky that I have a very supportive and understanding family. And I know some people don't. A lot of people get very discouraging and unvalidating and, quite frankly, rude and insensitive comments from family. And I'm lucky that I don't. But even though I have family that's very, very understanding, they don't know what it's like.
They don't have the firsthand experience.
Yeah. And so it can still feel lonely. Island life, man, it's fun sometimes. Okay. I say some really difficult moments where, like, opposite but coexisting emotions happen with, like, deployment and reintegration. And you can feel really bad about yourself, like you're a terrible military spouse, or you can feel like I'm doing it wrong, or something's wrong with me. But then when you tell other military spouses about it and you realize that you're not alone, this is very normal to feel this way. And here's, kind of some steps you can do to process through it. That is, that's everything. Because even if you have supportive family, they're just going to be like, I feel for you, I love you through it, but you still, can have all those other feelings. So it's really invaluable, absolutely invaluable to have your people within the military community.
Yeah. And, it's so unfortunate when you have extended family that's just not supportive of the lifestyle. Like, that's such a hard thing to experience and to deal with. And I feel for those people who have that, because, I'm so lucky not to have that. Everyone, we would strive for everyone to have that supportive family. But like you said, there's only so much they can do, especially if they're not prior military themselves. If they've not been through this, then it's difficult for them to say, okay, these are the steps. And sometimes it's like, okay, well, I don't know what to do from here. I don't know where, what the next step is going to be. And your family can't always say, okay, well, here's your next step. And that's why you need the community of these other spouses and families who are going through exactly what you're going through to say, okay, yes, this is hard. You've got this, that same whole thing of like, I love you. Like, you're going to do this, you're going to get through it. But here's what you need to do. Like, here are the next steps.
It just makes all the difference.
Yeah, no, it does. And to have, I don't think in this lifestyle you could have enough support. Like, we just keep getting more and more and more support. And that is just, it's great. It's overwhelming sometimes, but it's great. And sometimes you just need those people who are like, okay, we're going to come over. We are going to sit and cry with you. And then we're going to figure this out, map it out, and go from there. Because, you have to, with this lifestyle, it's so fast paced that if you don't keep up with it, it's going to start slipping by and you're going to create a bigger problem in it of, okay, trying to have to catch up with everything. So it's definitely, that community is so invaluable.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to ask you is, what advice would you give to another military spouse?
I think my go-to advice is don't try to do it alone. I think I've learned the phrase when I'm offering help to friends. I know you can do it by yourself, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
There are, honestly, there are some things that you cannot do by yourself. There, hope like it just, you know, it either logistically when one of your children gets a gash on their face and your spouse is gone and it's 9:30 p.m. and so half of your kids are asleep, like logistically, it's kind of impossible to take some to the ER and have the other sleeping. So you need people, right, to come into your home. Um, Emotionally, there can be moments when there's a death in the unit or just moving for the 10th time, or when something happens to your family and you are across the country and it just is agonizing not being able to be there. Like there are things that you cannot do on your own. There is a lot that you can, but man, it's exhausting and you just don't have to. So my best advice is just stop trying. And when somebody offers help, again, coming from a person who was raised to be very independent and very capable, and I am a stubborn woman, it's been a very, very difficult lesson to learn. But every time I accept help, I am so much better off. If nothing else, the slight vulnerability of letting people in and then that bond strengthening between me and another person and that community and that friendship getting stronger is so much healthier and better for us as military spouses. And I think sometimes we don't realize how lonely we are until we start letting people in. And it's like, whoa, so this is what it's like. What? Like, this is what it's like to have a really good friend, like sometimes you don't have one at a duty station, and sometimes it's because you just didn't let people in, and sometimes it's because of other circumstances. But like, man, when you let people in on your hard days, even if it's, seemingly small, of just something was hard with the kids that morning, or something was hard at work, or something that your sister said was frustrating, just like any way that you let people in. And then like when they offer help, let them, like if you're having a hard day and your friend is like, is there anything you can do? Be like, yeah, you want to come watch some TV together? Like,
exactly.
And just like sit, you know what I mean? Like you don't always have to ask people to come bring you a meal or, make you dinner or take your kids somewhere. Like, even if it's just, you just be like, yeah, can you just come and sit and chat? And like, or I've had, so, a few weeks ago, I'm pregnant with number 6. And so with, our son passing away and he was stillborn, it's been difficult, right? It can be hard when you're having your hopeful rainbow baby. And so we were at the week and we were approaching the week in gestation where our son passed away. And then that same week, one of my friends whose husband is in the military and is crushing his, I was going to say PT score. What's the new test thing? Like the ACFT or whatever the acronym thing. Yeah. He's like, he is 40, but he is crushing it. So it's like healthy guy has a heart attack and ends up in the hospital for a few days, right? So my friend and I were just like, whoa, like I don't like this week. And we literally just hung out and like watched a movie 3 times that week. And we didn't talk. We didn't really talk that much. Like we talked a little bit, but like I mean, we were together for a total of like 8 hours that week. And it's not like we talked for 8 hours. Like it was literally just like, let's just be together and we'll know that we're here for each other, and let's not be alone brooding in our thoughts. Do you know what I mean? Like even that is enough. So, I mean, by all means, if your spouse is deployed and somebody offers you to bring a meal, say yes. If somebody offers to like watch your kids for a little bit, say yes. But just know, like, when they offer a blank thing of like, hey, you're going through this hard thing, you know, what can I do? It can just be something as simple as like, hey, you want to, like, let's go to the park with the kids and just sit and talk, you know, but just don't try to do it alone. It gets really lonely and really depressing really fast. And it just doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. And like you said, all you need sometimes is that company from someone else. Mm-hmm. And like, I literally had my friend come and help clean my room one day when I was going through a really hard time. And she was like, can I just come, you know, hang out? Like, do you need anything? And I was like, yes, like, please come over. Like, you have to realize that, you know, everyone wants to help, and everyone needs help in a different way. And that's finding your way that you need help in. If that is someone coming to do the dishes, bring you dinner, watch the kids, or just hang out with you, or even sometimes all of the above. Like whatever you need, I'm sure you can call anyone, say, you know, go to your neighbor's house, and somebody's going to be willing to at least help you with one thing and check that off, because we've all been there before. We've all been there where, okay, yes, we need someone to come and sit on our couch with us and watch TV or just cry and get all the emotions out. And more than likely they're going through something and they need the help too. And they just haven't realized it themselves yet. So yeah, it's just the community is there to rally around you and help. And that is literally the best thing ever. And those empty, like, let me help you with something, or how can I help? Like, just say yes. And that, you know, that task that you need help with will be coming up. So like, just, you know, you'll be able to keep it in the back of your mind that somebody is there to help you. And even if you don't accept the help right away, you at least have the reassurance that someone is there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. You just don't have to do life alone. You know what I mean? Like, just don't do life alone. And that requires some humility, that requires some vulnerability, that requires some uncomfortability of like, you know, you're new and you haven't, or like your friends moved and now new people are around, you know, sometimes you're 2 years into an assignment and now you all of a sudden don't know anybody. And it can be the first time you're asking for help or the first time you're reaching out in friendship. And that can be scary, but it just is so much better when you push through that and you do find your people and you just do life alone.
Yeah. No, I love that. And then where can listeners connect with you at and follow you on your social media channels?
Yeah, on all the places, it's The Waiting Warriors. The podcast has slowed down, but there's so many good episodes out there to listen to. But yes, what is it? Instagram, Facebook. We've got a good Facebook group for deployment and reintegration support. If you want to find some more targeted resources or have a place to ask questions. And then, yeah, we're just here to party and build each other up.
Yes, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Journey. Thank you for listening to Grace of a Military Child and Life podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, follow, and comment. Also, be sure to check out Instagram and Facebook at Grace of a Military Child and Life for more awesome content. For information on the podcast, Military Child Bigs and Littles, GoAMCL blog, or other resources, visit www.goamcl.org. You can also email me at Gracie, that's GRACIE @GOAMCL.org with any questions or comments. To be a guest on the podcast, you can schedule it at www.goamcl.org/schedule a podcast, all one word, or contact me via social media or email. Stay tuned for the next episode where another incredible story is shared.